planted.
What's good, everybody? Welcome to SpikeTalk. I'm Babybay. I'm here with my boy FrosT, and we're here to talk everything Valorant. I mean, that's it, right? This is what we do for a living, and we're here to give insight not only as, like an ex-player and an active coach, but also, I get to watch games from the top down nowadays, as a caster. So we get to give you the ins and outs of everything going on and just our take on everything. So, yeah, welcome.
Yeah. I think what's interesting about the potential for this show is that you'll get my live perspective of, our previous matches, our upcoming matches, like insights from like what's going on in APAC, in China. We're going to split duties with EU. We'll have special guests on the show. We have a special one next week, which I'm actually very happy for and excited for. And then obviously in Americas, you're both current, and potentially, hopefully next season playing in it. So that will be really fun, right? When you're back in the league.
Yeah. The comeback.
Right. All right, so let's
sick.
get started. Man, Cloud9, Leviathan. I'm curious about I have my own personal insights on this. I'm so curious about what you actually felt, both before and after.
I mean, I know my boys from C9 are gonna, grill me for this, but I did not have them coming out on top for this one. Like, I played against Moose. I played against Vanity when they were on the same team on Shopify, and like something just didn't really click on that team for them. But to be fair, they did have some upsetting games. Like I think they had a game last year where they actually ended up beating M80, who like the M80 last year during the regular season was absolutely crazy. Like they were dominant. So I didn't think they had a chance. But right. I feel like Lev, I don't know if they overcooked or what was going on. I did not like seeing Aspas on Phoenix, even though like I mean he probably would play it better than I could. I didn't like it. I'm like, I feel like if he was just on Jet
good.
The entire time, I'm sure it's good. I'm sure it's good.
Though.
Like I know it can work. It's not the character for me. It's the person playing
It's more
it.
like he's so dominant at one, you might as well keep.
Yeah. Like I watched the game and I'm like, would this game have like I'm questioning myself, like would this have already been over like a 2-0 if he's just on Jet both maps? Like and I truly believe that. I think it would have been that way because the way that this guy, like the thing that Aspas has over every other duelist in general is that he can create openings, he can create timings. He's one of those type of duelists where like he doesn't need support per se. But when you're locking him down to a character like a Phoenix, where it's like I saw them trying to do like a lot of flash setups and stuff like that. It's just like it didn't look as fluid. It didn't look bad. Yeah. Don't get me wrong. Like I don't think he played a bad Phoenix or a bad Raze. His Raze was crazy too, but I just feel like he would have ended both matches or both games sooner than later, rather than having it go the distance like that.
So Phoenix on Sunset's good for two reasons, right? First, 6 orb points, very strong, very very strong, right?
Yeah.
Second, orb control technically is attack sided, especially if you're running like in my opinion, if you have a breach on your team, A is actually attack sided. If you're not running a breach, you can make an argument that defense has slightly better angles and timing, but it's just kind of free trust. So because I have some stuff for that too, even though we don't really abuse it as much. But anyways, so I actually like the Phoenix pick. I get what you're saying about Jet, but Jet's hard on that map specifically.
Yeah,
so he probably would have had
Raze too. Like that's the thing.
Right.
Like,
that was the one I was kind of surprised by.
Probably would have won.
Yeah, I mean, Phoenix. You got to remember, Phoenix has a lot of synergy with Phoenix, Cypher. So like, if you 0.5 Cypher, right. So like, if you know as Cypher how to 0.5, it's actually broken because other people, like especially Phoenix, can take advantage of like your util, and you don't have to be there for it. What I will say and agree with is, one, I didn't expect the result. Two, it says something because this is a pure macro win. He was like plus 30 something. He pretty much dominated, or I mean, he didn't really. Yeah. So like he didn't go off on Sunset, but on the other two maps, he was just such a hard carry. It was insane.
That's what I'm saying.
It's unusual to win a series when somebody does that well. So it says that it was a perfect team victory. That but it didn't matter that he got all those kills. What mattered is they still won the rounds, and macro was good enough that they can still eke out those rounds, and that's like really important. So that's where I thought the series was. But I'll also say, and this is not to be critical, I actually am a fan of this player personally. He knows that because I was messaging Calm when he got kicked from a crew, and I thought that was a stupid move, right? So this
Yeah.
is not me being critical, just me being observant. He's still playing as if he's on EG. Because if you notice, he was trying to do the same like super late lurks that he was doing on this team and that team. But the
Yeah.
problem is on that team, you have Jargemo, Demon One, and Ethan that are great not only at creating pressure, but absorbing it, right? You're not going to have the same timings, and you're not going to have the same ability to late lurk as long and cheat rotations as much as possible.
Yeah.
And if you notice, he looked kind of, in my opinion, it looked like really bad that Aspas is fighting, especially late into rounds, and you have someone trying to like play like that, which I thought it was a sign of um, what you said earlier about did they cook too much? I completely agreed with that statement,
I
and
think
this
they
is why
did.
I
Yeah.
thought that. Right, for
That
sure.
makes sense.
Because you can tell something was not right with those late lurks, especially given time, place. But it's been such a calm thing. I mean, he won a championship playing like
Doing
this and
that.
taking advantage of this. Yeah, so I thought that was like
I,
the
I
first.
guess my only question is like, do you think that it's the exact same type of late lurk that he's doing, or do you think that like now that everybody like, because even in my rank games, people are like, oh, like the last guy, he's pulling a calm, like, do you think
Yeah.
he's in his own head and like complicating his timings, or like he doesn't have the natural instinctual timings that he had on the old team, and like he's just like trying to still do the same thing, but he's just not as confident this time around? Or do you think it's just a fundamentally wrong way to be playing with this roster?
I think the way EG played last year was fundamentally incorrect too, right? Because you'd have Demon Lurk do these sort of late timings. You had Boostio taking contact first on Killjoy on Pearl half the time.
Yeah.
So I think it's more just he now knows what it's like to be successful. These are now the habits that are instilled. New team, probably not the most time in order to make these adjustments given all the craziness with management making the decision and some players being unhappy about it or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, I will say that I think it's when he looks. I'll be surprised if he does an internal review and like VOD reviews it himself. If his opinions are like, oh no, this was good, or this was, oh, this guy should have done that. Like I wonder how he's going to see it. But how I saw it,
Yeah.
I thought there were very questionable decisions that came from him actually. And I'm a fan of his, so this is not like,
Yeah.
I actually like the
I
guy, and I think they're going to
yeah.
fix this. But I thought that was a big problem.
Yeah. I would agree with that. And I would also like say that, I mean, this is probably like his first time playing in a match, at least, this Viper on Ascent. And I like that's the
Yeah.
map that he struggled on the most, right? Like no doubt.
Right,
Like
right,
he
right,
had
right,
13
for
kills
sure.
in like a
Yeah.
million OT game, right? This thing went like crazy OT. But yeah, he's clearly uncomfortable on it, and that's what I meant when I was talking about like the overcooking. Like I feel like this comp is just so like unnecessary, and like yeah, it could have worked, but I just feel like if they just played a default comp, I mean, they would have just won, right? You have King on the Omen, Tex on the KJ, Calm on Sova, which Calm is he still looked really great on Sova. Like he had, even on the map that they lost, he had 5 first kills, 1 first death on Sunset, right?
Yeah, no. He is,
which by the way is also kind of
Sova.
Another weird
Exactly, it's weird.
Pick
It's
to
but
play
the EG
on Sunset too, but
yeah. It's unconventional. First off, for an initiator to have,
yeah.
5 first kills means that something macro wise is kind of questionable, or he's lurking too much, right? And it's like, you can make arguments about that sort of stuff. But yeah, I will say this: there's a Chinese team who I'm not going to mention by name because I don't want to give up any free intel for like any of the Chinese teams to counter. But there's one Chinese team which you will know. That's the hint I'll give you. You will know this team. They run Phoenix Breach on Sunset, and when we scrim them all the time, it's hard. If you know what you're doing, it's hard. So I respect the Phoenix pick. I'm telling you, it's actually stronger than people might think. Unfortunately, didn't have the same effect, and as you put out, you have Aspas.
Aspas is
Like
too
Aspas
good,
character.
bro.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah.
like
No. I totally
I
understand.
felt like this Lev team was
I
like
understand.
watching Loud in like Madrid or like even in the season when they played, and they were like, oh, like QCK can play Phoenix, like, and it's
Yeah.
like I don't know. Obviously, I don't think it was his
But that was
choice
all.
to play Phoenix. It's probably like a whole
Well, but they
team
had
thing or like a
success running
coaching
it
staff. But
before. No, they had success running it before. Like they had won previously with Phoenix on Ascent. It's just,
or
some
on Sunset,
no. On Ascent. They actually ran Phoenix on Ascent
it's
before,
about
and they've
Loud,
actually
right?
won. Yeah. So like
Yeah.
you can do this, and the character, I don't think the character is like, what the fuck are they doing? It's more like if you have an idea and a cohesive strategy and you're good enough. I've seen it become really problematic on my team, so I understand that. Like, speaking of Loud, they got washed versus NRG.
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
That I was surprised by.
Yeah, we're speaking about comps that Loud have been doing, and clearly they've been influencing many teams. Lev was one of them. Didn't work out for
Yeah.
Lev because the only map that Lev played a pretty standard comp and they won and they dominated on was that Icebox, where they played the classic, Harbor Viper comp that we've seen at Aspas just carry on already. And he did the same thing, dropped 30 in that game.
And he did it without a
wash
flop
after that.
too. It was all just dry peaks and just his creativity, and so yeah. I mean, I pretty much thought it was a fundamental loss when he was able to do that. But yeah, I mean, Loud and their Harbor Viper Icebox has kind of had a lot of people copying them.
Yeah,
I was really
good.
surprised.
I tried to run that last year. I tried to run the Harbor Viper last year. It didn't work out for us because like you said, you need to be like dialed in and you don't have a flash. So like there's certain things you got to do to take space. But I mean, I'm a big fan of the comp. I think Harbor is so good on that map, especially with like the reoccurring wall and everything that you can do with it.
Yeah, I mean, don't forget.
And the ult is sick.
Yeah. Shoot. Don't forget, when I was coaching Furia, we ran that against Fnatic. Right?
There you go.
Which was the OT games that we played where we barely lost that lock-in. So
Damn.
we even ran that on Haven. Bro, I've been trying to run that on every map. So I give Mazine a lot of credit for that actually, because my initial concept was Harbor Sage, because I think that's low-key OP, but we'll talk about that another time. And he convinced me to add Viper, because I ran Viper on Haven and Ascent in beta with the PUBG boys and Hiko.
Wow.
We were running that way back then. And so I had experience with Viper already on that map.
That's nutty.
So I was like, all right, let's try it. And then with the extra wall, it's just, it's crazy. NRG stomped them though. I was kind of surprised.
I have some tea. I have some tea for this. I mean, like,
okay.
We weren't really allowed to talk about it much on the stage because it just doesn't make sense. Like, there's no point. We're not trying to make excuses for teams or anything,
Right.
But I'm pretty sure every single player from the Loud team like flew in at 5 a.m. either that day or the day before. I forgot what it was. So like they were completely obviously jet lagged out of their mind, and they put up a decent fight on the first map on Breeze. And, it was the classic story of Quick just like taking halls or going fast elbow control a lot on their attack. But man, NRG was just dialed in like they had something to prove, bro. And Demon 1 went absolutely crazy. Marv finally was looking like his old self, even with his like timings and like late lurks. Not late lurks, like instant timings. Like I remember there's a round on Sunset where he just runs up top mid on attack, like out of nowhere, and flanks everybody A, gets a 3K for free while his team was pressuring it hard, for him. And
a lot of
Chet actually called that. Chet called that out at a timeout previously, but like he's looking like his old self. Like he's confident in the fights that he's taking from what I saw. And that's something that he was lacking. And I was even talking to him because like I hang out with him quite a bit, outside of the server. And yeah, he was telling me, he was like, bro, like I'm not there yet. He was telling me after they lost their first couple matches, didn't qualify for Majid. Actually, they only lost one match to not qualify, by the way, which is like kind of crazy. Like that format is crazy. Like they actually, they almost could have won. They played Sentinels. The first map was 16-14. They easily could have been at Madrid. So I mean,
that
I guess
format,
he didn't play that bad,
was crazy.
But to his standard, he was telling me, he was like, I'm not 100% right now. So I think he, like, whatever he was doing that month while Madrid was going on, he got in the right mind space, practiced the right ways that he used to. And man, they looked so much more dialed in on the trading and everything. But how much of that do you think was jet lag out of Loud being at a tournament the whole time and they didn't get back until like literally a day or the day of? And how much of that do you think, or how much of that do you think was just like energy dialed in? Like, do you think in what if they had played like this week, follow like this coming up weekend? Do you think that they would have beaten Loud? Do you still think they would have beaten Loud, or do you think Loud?
I certainly think it would have been better. I definitely think Loud. I was surprised by the result the way it was. What I do understand is, like, I'll give you an example. So we technically Talon got screwed this game against Gen G because of this, which we'll talk about later. Because we played a team on Sunday and then had to play Gen G on Tuesday, right?
Sounds like a
we had no prep time, basically.
Yeah,
it was like one day, right? So we had no real prep time to like. Sure, we could do analysis before, but install's a lot harder. Why I bring this up is because Loud came from Madrid, so NRG gets to practice, study what they're seeing, practice against it, and have setups against the main B&Bs. If you're really smart as a coach, you'll look at what teams call after timeouts, which are normally like bread and butter plays, right? Like, if you call a timeout and you're running something, it's either a counter to something that's happening or one of your best plays. If you can study and diagnose, if it's a counter, or like, hey, they made this adjustment, this must be why, right? The A player had info, and then they, blah, 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 blah. Then you can go, this coaching staff is smart. This IGL is smart. Like, you can start going, this team is going to make adjustments. So, you know how some players are like, I don't want to run the same thing, or some players will run the same thing like 5 times in a row until it's not successful. Well, if you know a team makes good adjustments, you shouldn't be doing that against a team like that. You should have more respect, and you should stay ahead of the trend, right? Loud not being able, everyone traveling, no one's there. That means the coaching staff couldn't install anything, right? Yeah. That means you're going in there relatively blind. The only thing you're doing is conversing about, because there's no practice time. There's no, so you're talking about like, when they do this, we're going to do that. But there's no, it's kind of mental reps, but there's no real reps. So you're not going to be as polished, right? It's not going to stick because you don't have the muscle memory. So in my opinion, if you gave them another week, it's an entirely different match, right? And I think that is the unfortunate part. Is it sounds like they went through what we went through, which is you literally have no time. You're just on to the next. The benefit that Loud should have had, same as Gen G obviously is, when you're in tournament, this, those are the adjustments you have to make, right? Because you don't have a lot of days in between. So you
have
can't
to adapt on the fly
before your next match, right? So I would have assumed that Loud was a little bit better, but I understand why NRG looked so much more polished. And it might not be anything related to the players. It might simply be NRG had more time to prepare. And when you put quality players like that with that much time to prepare, it's way harder.
Yeah.
Right. So
they're nasty. I also think like I know we were speaking a lot about like comps, and like clearly Loud have like their super unique like way of looking at maps, and like they're trying to break out of like the norm, right? By running this Phoenix. I think when you're running like comps like this, you kind of need that extra time to be able to change like the micro things that you're doing, because if you're still running the old set plays, and that's what I saw a lot, they're trying to run a lot of the old like flash pop flash timings and etc. They were getting caught out a lot by just like NRG just contacting. I think in this series NRG was up 4v5 or 5v4 like I don't know, probably more than half the rounds, especially when they were on the attacking side. And we didn't get to see too much of that on the Breeze. On Breeze, it was more even because, I mean, I think Loud plays a more standard comp, and you can actually play standard comps. And I mean, there's a reason why they're standard, right? There's a way to be played, and even if people know what you're doing, it's gonna work, right? So, I think when you're running these cheesy comps, I don't want to call it cheesy comps even. I don't even want to call it a cheese comp, because it's not a cheese comp. Like, they played it multiple times and it won multiple times. I think a cheese comp's more of like you pull something out one time and then you never play it again. So like, I just think that when you're running a comp that's like you need everybody so dialed in on like this, because like you don't have that like that duelist that can create the space that can blast pack in. You have to be dialed in on all the small ways of taking the space and how you're gonna catch the enemy team off guard, how you're gonna take the space. If you don't have the time to even just change like the micro timings of those fights that you have, it's just gonna be tough, especially with a team just watching you for like a whole month, right? So,
bro, that's the that I think is a great equalizer
TLDR,
right there.
Energy, great team, insane team with time.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Better. It's nuts.
I thought they and Loud would be the best teams this year, right?
I mean, you're pretty spot on, bro. You're pretty spot on.
Yeah, but I obviously didn't see Sentinels having the run that they had. I mean, I thought Sentinels would certainly be better than last year, but I definitely didn't see before. I didn't think it would be this, right? Top 4. I'm pretty sure I was convinced they would make top 4 easily. They're fighting for third, so basically the worlds they were fighting for, but I did not. I thought Loud and NRG would be top 2, so it sucks that Loud had kind of such a disadvantage, I think, in that sense.
Yeah, it's all good. They have a long season, and they didn't even look worried either, bro. Like I was watching them, even when they were losing, and like I don't know, like Sadhawk is like the greatest person to watch when like he's winning or losing, because it's the same. He actually has so much love for playing the game, bro. He just sits there and he's smiling no matter what. He could have lost. He could have had the worst whiff in history, bro. He's going to give the fattest smile and move on to the next game. And that's why, like, even NRG knows.
He has
like,
a championship mentality, bro.
They're never out of it, bro. Even in that 13-2 win they had, I guarantee you NRG and their comms were like, it's 10-2. We're not letting off the gas, bro. You know what I mean? Like, bro, because they could come back whenever, dude. So that's Loud for you, but. Something that was really surprising was the G2 EG game. Like, obviously, G2 replaced Net, which was pretty like I think it was pretty crazy. I thought Net was a staple on this roster. I thought he was really good at mid rounding, but obviously I'm not within the team. You know what I mean? Like they have their own things that they had to work out, and they put Leaf onto that Sentinel role, which he looked phenomenal at, and I wasn't surprised by that. A lot of people were
working
surprised
on this. People don't know this. He had been working on this. So he was prepared for the moment, so his off-season preparation met the opportunity here, right? So that was super good. Like a lot of duelists, are transitioning to that Sentinel role.
Yeah, it's good. And you see he's so confident when he's going to take those 1v1s on the other side of the map, and he knows the timings. Because at some point he's already had to do it, right? Like even on Duelist, sometimes you're put in a spot where you are in that 1v1 lurk role, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think times like that, it can be good to get a change of pace. But Icy had his debut, and like
that was my surprise.
He didn't have
right.
The
that
best
was my
stats.
Surprise. Yeah.
I guess we could talk about it, right? We could talk about like why we think G2 picked up Icy. Obviously, I think there was interviews out already from Josh explaining why and how he just was a good fit for the team and he's not scared. I think that there was like a bunch of players in tier 2 that probably could have probably deserved a tryout at the very least.
But so that pickup, so I obviously don't know this,
but
no, I don't know this for sure, Andre. So if I'm obviously speaking out of pocket, then unlucky, and I'm sure somebody will call me out on it. This is pure speculation, so I don't want people to run with this narrative as if it's gospel. It's not gospel. I don't know this for sure, so I'm not standing on this. It's my personal belief. It's been around a long time, right? I mean,
okay,
you're well aware of this. So I feel like this situation is very similar to something that happened with me at Flipside in CS. So what I will say, though, is you don't make a move like that at a time like that and pick up a young gun like that if there wasn't some sort of personality conflict. Because what I will say, though, is this. You know why you pick up a young gun that nobody talks to or nobody knows? Because, A, somebody heavily vouches for his, character, that he'll listen, that he'll...
You can mold him.
That's the thing. Right. That's it. Because, as you already pointed out, there were other people that were more readily available with more experience. They probably just wanted someone that would come along and get along without having to think about that stuff. But obviously the guy the kid has to be good, right? So I'm certainly not questioning
He's good.
the
Yeah,
skill. I haven't seen it.
he's
Yeah,
actually good. Like I've
but from experience,
yeah.
that's my personal belief as to why things like that happen. I don't know. I'm not in there.
I think that's pretty
But
fair. I would believe
yeah,
that. That's not like out of the norm at all. And I think
yeah,
that is true. I think Icy fits like in we saw in the interviews, like even Josh was saying he fits the role perfectly. Yeah, he didn't have the best stats, but he was doing everything that the team required of him. Even they were saying like, yeah, just take the space for us and like we'll dominate.
yeah,
You know, and they did. Like Valen
yeah.
had a crazy game. Trent's finally back. Jonah P is like the most consistent player. We got to see Leaf own on the lurks. Like it looked good, but on the flip side of that, no pun intended, because I know you were talking about flip side.
Respect.
EG just looked like, I mean,
I was more surprised by
besides
that.
for nature. Yeah, besides for nature, I just looked like everybody just woke up on the wrong side of the bed and they just weren't even there to play. Like I can't even like you can't even dissect this match and be like, oh, it was a strategic problem. Like 4 of the players just like woke up and just had like the worst possible day ever. And that happens in
It looked
Valorant
like there
sometimes.
was some serious
They weren't shooting
problems
back,
there.
bro. They were not shooting back.
Right, for
like,
sure. And those players
you
can't
can't even
shoot
get
back.
to the macro. Yeah, they can,
Right,
bro.
right. So yeah. That was probably what I was the most surprised by, because so what I was gonna say was G2, I thought, got a little unlucky in the draw that their first matchup when they make all these changes and stuff, right? There's certainly weaker teams in the league that could have been Icy's first go, right? They didn't get one of the best teams in the league.
Especially with how EG looked in the in the kickoff tournament. I thought they looked great. Like they looked crazy. I was like, dude, they're doing like random stuff and like they lost a lot.
I thought it would be a problem. I actually believed that this series would be close simply because of like things like that, right? And to see what happened, I was taken aback by it.
It's crazy.
Yeah. So I mean, so I was very surprised by that. It
wasn't even close at any moment. It was just
No, for sure. I mean, it reminded me actually to segue past that, Crew versus Furia. You want to talk about that? Was a beatdown from start to finish. And it's rather unlucky because I know Furia got a map, but like even when they had control, it was more like individual like creativity, like Khalil is so talented, MW Zera, like I coached him last year, so I know, right? Like they're so good. They're gonna get theirs. But I actually was surprised by Crew. I thought that wasn't gonna look good, especially with like the unfortunate stuff that happened in the off season on a personal level.
I didn't even know he was gonna be playing. I heard that he was coming in as a sub. Like that's what I heard. That was the rumor on the street. Was no, he's just a sub.
He's always been a firecracker. He is a fragger,
bro.
Dude.
He
I mean, he would have been. He was good. He in stretches at MIBR last year. I know there's a lot of interpersonal stuff that got in the way with him. It's good that he deserves to be in the league. He's talented enough to be in the league.
Definitely,
some people question his attitude and stuff. I know the Brazilian scene isn't really particularly happy with his attitude because I think as a teammate, word on the street, I haven't had him. He's been on a short list. I wanted him on an academy team many years ago, which we'll get into. I'm probably sure at some point. But yeah, I mean the dude as a duelist is great. Seeing him on KO,
he was
pretty
nasty
impressive
at KO, bro.
Yeah.
Triple doubles both games. Like he's just insane.
Yeah. So that
dude,
to
he had
me
a 51% headshot rate on Breeze.
Dude, he is bro. His jet,
half of the bullets that were shooting were headshots.
Dude, he's actually a fragging monster. Macro wise, makes a ton of mistakes. Doesn't deal with you too well. Like his jet scouting report was like, you could basically treat him like you treated Ye, even during like before Ye became Player of the Year. Like Ambox Ye, early Optic Ye, if you just like util dumped him and took him off his first and second angle, way different player, right? Later on, he figured stuff out. He got better. Like I just had a prep for him, so like my prep was the same, right? Yeah, like he has the same thing. But if you think you're just gonna one-on-one this guy and you're gonna like dry peek him and you're just gonna take challenges and
he's mechanical.
That guy, him and MW Zera in Brazil, those are two people I urge everyone, do not try them that way. You will more often than not get burned. Trust me, I know. I trust. Like so, yeah. Him playing well was not surprising. Right, because you felt him before, right? You played against him,
Dude,
so you know,
even just in a ranked, man, because he's been in NA for a while. Like, he never went back to Brazil, or maybe he did, but it was for a little bit. I played against him in ladder all day, and it was so hard to play against him. He would actually diff me, and I would get mad because I'm very competitive. I'm like, I would keep trying to take the fight against him because I wanted to get better, and I knew like he just had something one up against me every time I played him, and that's only in ranked. You know what I mean?
Right.
Granted, things are different. Maybe in a team setting,
he's crazy.
It could have been different, but in ranked, he's just so crazy. Mechanically, he was diffing me, and I take pride in being able to diff duelists usually. So this guy, when he was bodying me, I was like, this guy is so good.
I know one of my biggest regrets and frustrations will be, in my opinion, if that Furia roster stayed together last year. Well, one, if they didn't get in their own way, which I'll just leave that as that. But two, if they could have stayed together, that team would have won a championship. They were so gosh darn talented. That region
they had a bunch of champions,
incredible, brother. That region is incredible. It's surprising to me that I think Mazin going to MIBR is going to make them better as an IGL. Now he's had a full year.
Definitely. And
most people don't realize,
they
Mazin was, we were we were tied for second in the league last year, right? Mazin's first tournament he ever IGL'd was lock-in. We destroyed T1, ban, shout out. First game, bro, it was like 13-5, 13 some BS. It was nasty. Like, that was free 99, right? Second match was the Fnatic series. Think about that. We took everyone was scared of him, world champion. You know, it was going to be their year. And he took them really deep. So just imagine, like, that was his first go. You know what I'm saying? So I think MIBR is going to be better, but I honestly do not think they're going to be. I think Brazil's basically going to be. I think all three teams, with the exception of Loud, I think all of the other teams in Brazil are going to be in the bottom half of the league, which to me is insane because that region is absolutely
so much talent,
demonic. But they just don't care about the X's and O's, and chemistry is not considered whenever they build teams. And it's just it's a problem that plagued NA. You remember the whole friend team stuff in NA? It was a while, but that's gone away now.
Kind of still. I mean, it'll never fully be away, right? And that's just the reality of of even life. It's not even just video games.
Yeah, right. Were you surprised about Sentinels and 100 Thieves? I wasn't.
The Sentinel 100 Thieves game. I was surprised at how Cryo looked. I thought he looked phenomenal. He looked like old Cryo, but like the biggest problem that Cryo had last year, and this is my personal opinion. I don't know, other people could agree. Some people might not agree. Hopefully, Cryo doesn't hate me for saying this, but after the Chamber meta, I just felt like he was too passive on Jet. And it just in general, I felt like he was too passive. It was almost like
I'd agree with that.
He was trying to play Chamber on Jet. Exactly right. Especially on Pearl, he wasn't even like dashing in or even
he was
the times when he
basically
would
holding
dash
backseat by heaven, and that's pretty much all he was doing. So
he looked great last year on the up, obviously, because like he was playing that style. But now in this series, he actually played aggressive, not only on attack but on defense too. Like, he was going for the early first bloods, and he was owning on it. On Icebox, he almost had a 30 bomb. He went 26 and 16, and he was like solo, kind of keeping his team in the game. What's crazy to me on the other side of that is how Sentinels, while a player like Cryo was absolutely going viral on him, still it was like an even game until at the end.
Same thing we talked about with Leviathan.
That's so nutty. Sorry,
Cloud9 macro. If you're winning macro, you give yourself a chance. Yeah,
it's so nutty. And,
it is nutty.
And like when you're a good team when you can figure out how to like not get shit on by just one player. Excuse my French. I think we could swear on here. I think it's fine. But like,
it's tough.
Like, if you can beat a team by playing together like that, like they did, it opens up, opportunities for other players on the roster to shine. Like Saucy. Like Saucy went 22 and 13 on Icebox, and ultimately was like the deal breaker to close the game for them. Like the fact that Sentinels has all this stuff in their holster. it's crazy, man. Like they're
No,
just
this
such a
team is
well-rounded
gelling.
team.
They're coming together. They are
Yeah.
much stronger than I thought they would be in the. I didn't think they would be the best team in America coming into this year. I did not. So
I
see that is really
I
impressive, and it's surprising, very surprising
yeah.
to me. But they're consistent though.
Yeah.
They are consistently whooping
They
ass.
are.
So
They are.
we can't. Yeah, we can't take anything
And
away
their
from them.
split is like the best in the league. Their split is it's by far. I don't know why teams let this map go through. I don't care how much time you had to prep against them. I just don't care.
We could spend so much time on that. Everyone in APAC.
But why even do it? They just win so much.
Yeah, I'm not gonna spend so much time on it because you have to get to other leagues. But I would just say this: in APAC, everyone is talking crap to Gen G about split, and all I'm gonna say is this: you can't. There's two options when you think of a veto, right? You either take away your opponent's strength and try to add a weakness to the veto, or you focus on your strengths.
Your strengths, right? Yeah.
And Gen G, true that they're. I mean, I guess I can't talk trash because obviously we just got 2-0'd, but that's unlucky. I'll just say that split is not their worst map. So they have to think about other things they need to protect themselves from. Mm-hmm. So Sentinels just has a good map pool. And when a team has a good map pool, you're not just it's tough to be just like, I guess critics can say the same thing about us and Lotus, but it's like, you can't take every map out of the pool, guys. You're going to have to play people on something. And if you have worse maps or they have better maps, you just have to play the strategy game and hope that a middling map of yours is good enough to go head to head. And I think, so I think teams are running into that problem with Sentinels because their map pool seems to be so strong.
But listen, the thing is that it's not like Sentinels is perfect on split. They're not. They have had matches where they lose, and it's right. Like it's kind of like one-off matches. I feel like because every time they lose a match, they tend to win the next 4 on the map, specifically on split. Like I'm looking at the stats, like they lost to Loud in the kickoff, or no, this is something else I think. Oh no, yeah, this is kickoff. They lost to Loud 11-13. Then they proceed to beat 100 Thieves, Lav, MyBR. Then they lose to G2. Then they beat NRG, Loud, Carmine Corp, Loud. They lose to Gen G on it, lose to Paper X on it the next day, and then they beat Gen G on it again in the finals. You know what I mean? So it's like, the reason why I'm saying don't pick this map is not because I don't believe teams can beat them on it, but it's just every single time that they play it, they get better and they adapt. So now they're at a point where I truly feel like they've seen almost everything teams can throw at them. Obviously, there's always new things you can do to try to counter teams, but I feel like they're so good and dialed in on playing that retake style, and they're so confident in their retakes that it makes it really hard to play against. And it's like if you don't really have the most perfect game plan against it, they're just gonna beat you, bro, based off of just how they've been playing the map.
Yeah. I mean, they just have a strong map pool, bro. That's pretty much my thesis on that will simply be their map pool is strong. You're going to deal with a bad map. Good luck. You just have to be able to persevere. And if you're also a really good team, you need to be able to win a map that you're not supposed to at some point in order to be a champion, right?
That's facts.
And I think, So, all right. So let's go to EMEA. Koi versus Team Liquid. Were you surprised by this?
I honestly didn't even watch it, bro.
On that team?
Oh, I didn't even watch it.
So, okay.
Can you give me a summary? I
will say, I think Team Liquid just literally ran them out of the server. And I was so surprised by Starso's play because I thought that if they had a chance to win, it would be him. So I was really kind of surprised by that. That was the series where everybody was like, I mean, I don't want to say everybody, but that's pretty much everybody was like, oh, because the whole run that they had previously or the games that they had, in kickoff was Kaiko was hard carrying, right? On his raise or whatever. Yeah. But Nats basically said, I'm just gonna, man mode this and it's over. I was actually more surprised by Na'Vi. No. Na'Vi looking as strong as they looked, and now Liquid losing. I think Liquid went from a super high, oh crap, Nats is back, and they have Keiko. Then they just I don't really know what happened versus FUT because FUT last year I thought was the best team in the world tactically, right?
Really?
They just had so much, bro. That team, if you look
I mean,
at that team from
they played a little
kickoff to the
different.
league,
That's for sure.
they were amazing, actually. Macro-wise, I'm not sure they lost macro much.
I like their Pearl. Their Pearl was sick, and I really like Q-Rax. Like I think he's fucking sick too, especially at that KO role.
Right, but seeing Team Liquid look as great as they looked, and then as bad as they look to FUT, and I don't think FUT, even though they had a CNET, is that great this year. I'm looking at the Navi strength, and I'm like, Liquid might just get bopped because it looks like they're just so inconsistent, even in kickoff. It's like great series, everything is running on 4 cylinders, then all of a sudden, they just look like ghosts. I honestly couldn't believe they lost FUT. And it's not that I think FUT is bad, and it's obviously not that I don't think, the players on that team is good, and I'm not trying to disrespect CNET, but like the team last year that FUT had that controlled macro is not this one. You just have to look at their games from kickoff to now. There's an entirely different makeup of the team, right? And it's not that it's like CNET or bust. I guess Q-Rax might be their more important player now, but like
I like him a lot, bro. I think he's just good at the game.
But like the way they play now isn't macro. Team Liquid's is macro.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of thought that Team Liquid is gonna, wash FUT, and I was just dumbfounded by how bad that series was. So I don't know where to put Liquid, and I honestly think that they're gonna just get destroyed versus Na'Vi this week. And it's no disrespect, but I feel like, like Xiao's playing great, bro. If you can't stop Xiao, if you can't if you can't stop players on FUT, you're not stopping like Xiao's form right now. I don't know if you've been paying attention to him specifically.
And then also on top of that, artist on Na'Vi is just like he's just a different artist. Like he's not the I think people are like, oh, like NRG artist. No, that's not the same guy, bro. Like it's just not. Like
I mean we could talk about that too.
I don't know the ins and outs of
systems
of the
matter,
NRG
teammates
thing.
matter. I'll just say that the chemistry is here with this team. But Xiao is on a different level at the smokes. But bro, you brought up Jimmy, right? How he needs to get informed.
Yeah, Marv. Yeah.
We know how good Jimmy is and can be when he gets to a point where he feels comfortable. He can dominate games and take over games like he did, previously, right? You'd have Ye control one side, you'd have him close out the game on the other, right? Like, you're seeing the same thing happening right now on Na'Vi. What's surprising was Angel basically, like their series, Angel basically kind of was like, this is my series. And Xiao was just quietly like doing all the dirty work, cleaning it up.
Too, bro.
Yeah.
I feel like he doesn't know how to play like any other way. Like it's kind of like he has to be that guy, But I mean, dude, when it works, it looks wonderful.
Right, and when it doesn't, he looks silly. But honestly, though,
but he's not on Omen anymore. He's not on Omen anymore.
That's true.
So it changes things. He's playing Gecko like no other,
Yeah,
so.
but like Na'Vi, in my opinion, destroyed macro, micro. Like they were just so much better than Vitality, right? And Vitality is not bad. Like Vitality is solid.
I have a lot of respect for Vitality.
Me too, bro. I've been a fan of Sender Sender is so good too. So if Na'Vi could do that to that team, I'm over here like, whoa, right? Because Vitality just beat Heretics. Heretics was in Madrid, so it's not like Vitality is just washed. Like in my opinion, they played well. In EMEA kickoff, like I think this team is good. Na'Vi just said, nah, bro. So the inconsistency of Team Liquid just makes me think that they're just going to get destroyed because I just don't understand how they can look one week so powerful and the next week they don't. And I think their roster is really talented, and I think they have really smart players, and I have high expectations for them. So I'm just kind of just like on this. I don't know what to make of Team Liquid. I don't know. Does NA have a team that is that inconsistent? That one week look like they're gonna win Worlds, and the next
you could probably say like Lev, right? Like you probably say Lev. Like, I mean, on paper that team like seems like they should be able to beat a team like Cloud9 who just went through 2 roster changes, right? Like, I feel like that's inconsistency right there. Other than that, I mean, most of the like the top 4 NA teams or the top 3 NA teams are pretty consistent. Like I would say Loud is pretty consistent. Sentinels, we already touched on, is hella consistent. And then
That's
NRG,
a really good way of looking at it.
NRG have only lost one match this year.
Right.
They didn't make Madrid. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
So like, I think you're gonna see these 3 teams be the most consistent for sure. I guess. Yeah, that's. I think that's the best comparison I could do.
Consistency problem
because Lev looked good.
Yeah. Right.
Leading up to that match against Cloud9. Like, dude, if you look at Lev right now, first of all, like not adding the off-season tournaments, which they won a bunch of.
Right.
They beat 100 Thieves 2-1. They lost to Loud 2-1, but I think it was close. They could have won. Yeah, they lost. Yeah, they could have won split maybe. Okay, against Loud, but they lost the last map bad. But against Sentinels, they also took them to 3 maps as well. Bind was a 13-9. That's not a wash, right? And then they just lose against Cloud9. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I think the parallel you're drawing between Liquid and Lev is pretty spot on. And yeah, like the more I think about it, the more I think you're onto something.
So much potential is like what I'm trying to get at.
Those teams can be very solid.
Be top 4 or top 5
right.
at least.
Consistency is going to be key for both those teams, and I'm going to be looking at and for Liquid to have that. I just definitely don't think they're going to do that against Na'Vi. I think they're going to get trounced. Now,
yeah, I think that's going to be
things can happen because if they beat Na'Vi, then they remind me of Talon, which is like Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. It's like which one are you going to look like today? So you know, unlucky. But
what are the matches from EU?
I don't know. If I'm gonna be honest, I think BBL and Gentlemates was like not very fun to watch. I was like half paying attention to it. I don't know what to make of Gentlemates. I don't know if like
they're pretty weird, man. They play some weird stuff. And I kind of like it because I feel like they came in to the league and they're like, I don't even want to say it's like a confidence thing, but I think that they know that like there's like really heavy hitters out in EU, and they're trying to like do something new and try to like catch teams off guard, and I kind of respect that in a way. But it's I mean they beat
but
BBL,
their tape doesn't look good. Like
it's pretty tough.
Like if you think of like tough French players in CS, right? Like they're always like heavy firepower. Like to say that they do have a guy, right? Like Takas, I think is like.
Yeah, he's sick.
He's going to be the next one, right? For sure. In my opinion, though, like when I have watched their matches, it seems as if, and I mean this with as much respect as possible, but they're like your old team when you had Baby J and Marv.
Yeah.
Right, and I think
team. We didn't have Marv. We had Baby J instead of Marv.
Oh, right. You replaced. Yeah. So like the Baby J roster, it's like they're relying so heavily on standout performances.
Yeah.
And I don't believe this is indicative of a strong team. Yeah. Right. And I think,
not. Like, I mean,
bro, Vitality
if you're asked boss, you can make it work, but it's,
Yeah, for sure. And like, sure, they beat BBL, but I mean, were you ever really looking at that Turkish team, right? When I think of Turkey, I think of FUT at the moment, and this is not to disparage the org. This is not the org. The orgs are probably fantastic. I'm talking about like the quality of the players at the position that they're in. I feel like Turkish Valorant right now, the best players you can put together and assemble on a roster is on FUT.
Yeah.
So their win,
I could agree with that.
Is kind of just like, so like I really don't know what to make of it. I'll be curious next week what our guest has to say about those teams, because again, I don't scrim those teams. I get to only watch the few games that I'm able to watch of them, and when I watch the macro, I just kind of am a little.
Who was Foot's old duelist? Sorry, this is like off topic. Who was Foot's old duelist? Was it Kiwi or something?
Oh, the Neon player. I used to like him a lot too.
What was his name? I can't. I don't remember how it was spelled.
I just remember he used to run
Lotus.
Yeah.
Right?
He used to run Neon on Lotus, and he was so good.
Dude, this guy, like, I thought he was fucking sick last year. And
yeah, he was.
He was on Foot, right? I'm kind of curious as to why. For
sure. He was either Jet or Neon. That's what I remember. If it's QW, I'm blanking on the name. I think it is QW1 actually.
I think it's QW1.
But
yeah.
His Neon was nasty, bro. He was pretty good. He's not governor, but he's a dude. Like
he's a dude.
He's a dude. Like he could play. So it's not like I'm disrespecting like him or his team. It's more just like, yeah, when you watch the tape, you watch the tape. And if I can only watch like 2 or 3 games of yours, and in those 2 or 3 games, I'm questioning some macro decisions, some, oh, this player has an O. Oh, wow, he doesn't even realize he has O. Or like he doesn't realize the enemy is as O. Why is he in this position consistently? Then I'm thinking your macro is sort of questionable. And this is what I mean. Like when I speak about the teams in these ways, this is what I'm seeing.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? And it's like, if I
Yeah.
can do this on too many rounds, I know when you get to play against players like Aspas or teams like Loud or Sentinels or Gen G, you're going to struggle. Like
Yeah.
these teams are not going to let you make those mistakes very often. And,
I
so
mean,
it's
we
kind
see
of
it,
tough.
right? Like I've watched some of their games because honestly they are fun to watch though. I
Yeah.
actually like watching
Yeah,
them,
for
gentlemen.
sure.
So I like watching their
Right.
games because it's entertaining as hell. Because they do play so so funny. I would say.
Oh, they're different. They're different for
to put it
sure.
nice. They are different.
Yeah.
Dude, but the other games that we didn't touch on from today, which both games were kind of upsets in a way, right? Vitality beating Heretics and Foot beating Carbine Corp. I mean,
yes.
bruh,
Yeah. Well, speaking of Heretics, before we go there,
here?
them beating Fnatic was shocking to me last week.
Heretics beating Fnatic?
Yeah. The 2-0. Granted, one of the matches was overtime. But
yeah, that is
Fnatic
true.
picked Icebox and lost 13-4.
I know, which is so weird because we know how good Dirk is on that map. So that's scary, bro. And you lost to a comp that doesn't even have a duelist, but that comp is pretty good though. Like it's so well rounded.
Again, macro wise, very, very strong and potent, and you can do a lot. You get easy plants, and that's what they were abusing. They were basically abusing.
Mini Boost so good, bro.
Right. Oh my, that team is surprising and good, and I'm happy with how Benji Fishy is acclimating because I remember when he started playing,
bro.
So
that's a whole nother story, bro. He's
and it's good that Patty Tech went from, he kind of got dropped from teams that I didn't think he probably deserved to for bigger names and better names, and he's like on a team now that is like super good and explosive. Their following matchup versus Vitality, which you mentioned, is funny because then they lose the Vitality. Like, this is what I'm saying. Vitality's not bad. And by the way, I don't think Heretics making Madrid was a fluke. I think they were probably slightly better than just the norm at the time. But I think EU, I haven't talked to you about this, and this isn't even on the Run of Show. Sorry, Steve. But I got to be honest. Right now, I think the most competitive region is EU. And I say that not that they have the most talent, and definitely not that they're the strongest region. It's just, I feel APAC, in my opinion, very top heavy. I feel NA extremely top heavy.
I see what you're trying to say.
It's a bloodbath. These
like
teams
it could be anybody.
I
get what you're saying. I get what you're
smaller.
Yeah.
So I'm not actually surprised by Vitality beating Heretics because of this.
Because they have the potential to do it. Yeah, I agree.
Right.
I completely agree. Yeah.
So I think Vitality beating them is surprising in the sense that you expect Heretics, who just came off of Masters Madrid, to be able to beat every team in the league,
and
right?
beating Fnatic 2-0 as well, the match prior as well. Yeah.
But Vitality is also talented and good, and so it's just one of those things where, like, now in fairness, Vitality did win a mess load of pistols. I think they won I'm pretty sure they won. I think they won all
pistols
the
on Breeze.
I think they won both.
And they won
pistols.
both pistols on Sunset. They only lost one pistol, and that was on the last map on Icebox.
So memory didn't serve me. I'm old.
Pistol, though.
I'm old, bro. What are you gonna do? But
that's nuts, bro.
So in fairness,
so that's a whole different. So if a series is going down to just pistol rounds, because that's what I'm looking at 13-9, 13-9.
It's close, 13-11 right? Between those teams.
The pistol round does make the difference like that.
Right. So I think that you can say that EU is just so supremely talented that the teams are so close. That's not to say that America. Look, I have always said NA has the most talent by far.
Yeah.
But the ranges of talent scale so high and low. EU, it's like everyone is like in this box. They're all so close, and we're seeing this reflected, I think, on the games that are being played.
Mhm.
Like, I'm
Yeah, I
I'm
mean they're
I'm
close.
yeah, I'm impressed by all this. I mean, even narrate, right? Uh,
Narrate's
not to
so good,
completely
dude.
jump, but let's talk about like Carmine Corp. Carmine lost a foot, and
I
I
know.
was just like,
See,
huh?
I feel like that one's pretty surprising though, right? Because like,
Yeah, but you got to remember
because
they beat them in groups 2-1. It was close,
true.
and it happened with us with Secret. Sometimes the second time you run into a team, all they do is counter strat, but you're worried about other stuff. Not to say that Carmine was worried about other stuff, and I am certainly not trying to say that FUT didn't do the things that they needed to do in order to be
Hmm.
successful. I'm just saying that, like, I wonder if coming back from the break, right? Carmine Court took a rest. It's like, okay, strength of schedule. Looks like early on we can take a breather, and then all of a
Hmm.
sudden, and you know, they just got caught. I was shocked by that, but it is what
I
it
was definitely
is.
shocked by that. I was also shocked by CNED playing Jet on Lotus and winning 13-8 doing it. So like, yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Well, they had
interesting. I
Sage
think
too, which I've said Sage is good on Lotus, but I just don't
you're
think he can
right.
slot
You're
her
right.
in.
They did have
But they did
Sage
right.
too.
Yeah. I was surprised.
I
That
don't
was the thing
know.
that was surprising to me, to be honest.
Do you think it was a fluke? You think it was a fluke match? Honestly, you think like 9 times out of 10 Carmine Corp beats Foot?
So I can't say that only because they beat them 2-1 the first time.
Okay.
So because it wasn't a clean sweep, it's kind of just like, I would just say that I think the matchups matter so much in EU right now,
Yeah.
because it seems like the styles of play are so varied. That's another thing. I think APAC might have a little bit more variety in comps, but the skill level attached to the variety is not the same. Whereas EU,
Mm,
if you're running like remember we talked like they were running Neon FET last year, right? I thought they
yeah.
were strategically the best team in the world, because when you looked at the plays they had, the macro they had, the things they did off of like, oh, they got this A control, look at how they pivoted off, and look at the way the rotations were, and look how they were properly aligned. Oh, and they knew whenever they didn't get info here, they would just like over rotate, basically, yo, this team's probably going to go here because they're not leaving anyone inserted. We threw a dart or something, we got the info. It's just like, wow, this is what I think EU is really great at, but in Pacific, not so much. So I think the comps in EU matched with the overall game IQ and like the acumen of the players is creating this weird thing where like I could beat you, but you could beat that guy, but I could lose to that guy.
Yeah, it's a
And
game
it's
of
like
matchups.
this,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, dude,
So it's
I've
just kind of
felt that
weird.
before. By the way, like there's certain teams where, as a player, like I knew I was just gonna shit on them, and then there are certain teams where I knew like they had my number, and it is a thing. Like people don't think about that enough. Matchups is definitely a thing.
Yeah. And I think this is what we're seeing in EU. I'm very curious to see what happens in the coming weeks. Obviously, I think Navi is just going to beat the snot out of Liquid, so I'm going to
What?
stand on that. But
Yeah. What?
yeah,
What? All right. But before we move on from EMEA, what
uh-huh.
what does Fnatic need to do? What's going on here, man? Is this something to be
I
worried about? Should we be worried yet, or
I kind of want to.
is it not enough to be worried yet?
Oh no, I've been worried. I mean, it's tough for me to say what Fnatic needs to do, because if I'm being honest, I went for their coaching position,
Oh,
so obviously it's
yeah.
going to look
You're not really
like
allowed to
I'm
touch on things.
disparaging.
Yeah.
I have ideas. I know what I would do. I'll just
I
say
mean,
this.
yeah. Go ahead.
What's up?
I was gonna
That
say like the thing that's so weird is that the only thing that's changed is what, like I think Mini took like more of a back role now, like he's the assistant coach now, and they picked up a new
right.
coach. Like, do you think it's
I'm a
truly
buddy.
that, or do you think there's also like something to be said about like the players? Like, do you think that maybe the offseason just didn't go well for them?
Look, a
Maybe
lot
they
of
didn't take
people
it
need
too
to take
serious.
right. A lot of players need to take personal accountability, right? So
Yeah.
obviously, we can't all just be like, look, this is the coaching thing. What I will also tell you though is, from a coach's perspective, as a coach, the league got better. You know, I sat with Alex on
Yeah,
that
I mean, look
thing.
at
I don't know if you
Carmine
know this.
Corp.
We
Look at
did an APAC coaching thing, right? Content wise, I don't know if you saw it, but it
no,
was
I didn't
like
see
me
it.
and Alex. Yeah, but it was basically me, Alex, and Legia just shooting the ish, right? And then you had
Wow.
like Termi and Solo and Spin there. and like they were having like side conversations and they were like engaging, but
This
like
is like from
they were like
Riot or
super
what?
serious. Yeah, bro. Like we're the class clowns.
That sounds
They were
fun.
like,
That
bro,
sounds
Spin
fun,
too.
dude.
Spin was so professional, bro. I was so impressed by how he carried himself.
Mm.
Me and Legio were just like straight up. I don't want to say trolling, but like we were just having too much fun actually, because the APAC crew were not happy about it. But what I will say about that is, Alex basically said to everyone, "This is going to be the hardest year for us in APAC because everyone just got so much better and everyone is so good now." And
Yeah.
I think Alex saying that is funny because remember, they were dogging everyone in APAC last year, right? So
Yeah.
why is he now like, this is going to be the hardest year? And I'll just say that if he acknowledges that with his players, I'm very certain that every other team should do the same.
Yeah.
I'm not accusing them of not doing the same, but it looked like everyone around them got better in macro.
Yeah, if you're not doing it, you should be doing it, is what you're trying to say. Yeah,
yeah, the one hint I'll give is
just like,
right. The one hint I'll give is look at the macro. Whenever things happen in a match, whether it's first interval, second interval, or if you realize that teams are doing things on the half interval, which you'll understand. We should probably do a breakdown of these terms so that people don't get confused, because most pro players don't even understand the interval system, but I've been using that as data, right? But when you look at those interval or half interval situations, just look at if that team has advantage.
Mm-hmm.
And this is really how they should be looking at the problem.
Yeah.
Of course. Because if you're going to rely on Alpha and Durka to just like man mode and kill multiple every round, that's cool. They can do that. They have done it. But ultimately, when you play against really good competition, they're not going to give you those same openings. And I think this is just a byproduct of sort of what's happening.
Think about it. Like, I think a perfect example of that, at least in EMEA, is Carmine Corp. They have 5 players who like are mechanically actually gifted to the gods, but yet their coach is instilling them with this great macro play. And yeah, they lost their last match, but I don't think that like that doesn't give justice to how well they've been playing macro. You don't just become a champion of a region, right? They won the kickoff tournament. That doesn't happen by you just having a good day in the game and aiming well. Like you're outplaying teams to the core.
Yeah, and I mean this with as much respect as possible. KO does not counter Harbor Viper. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, so the 13-4 loss is macro. It's not the Sage Gecko wall. Dude, you're talking Harbor Viper on Icebox. Yeah. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so, yeah, I just think the Devils are in those details, and it just is what it is. Obviously, they still have
yeah, it's still early.
A bunch more games to play. Yeah. I am not hitting the panic button on Fnatic. Okay, it is just unfortunate that Fnatic have looked as bad in certain situations that are getting magnified now. But when I watch the tape, it's a macro problem. It's not a micro issue.
Maybe it's something to look forward to, though, because when you're in a position where, most of last year they were winning everything. Yeah, like they didn't do too well at champs, or they actually still did well at champs, right? What did they get at champs? Like top 5 or something?
4, basically. I'm pretty sure 4, right?
Like that,
and then
Loud,
like
3,
that. Yeah.
Third. Okay, so
yeah, and if they got through Loud,
that's
I honestly thought Fnatic would win if they got through Loud.
If they beat Loud,
and they said that too.
Loud just went on a crazy run, right?
Loud
just went on that crazy run last year.
I mean, Loud is just
when it matters. Loud dials in. All right. Anyway, we're getting off topic again.
Sure.
Yeah, we're getting off topic again. But yeah, I think that it could be a good wake up call for them, especially losing to teams that they themselves are probably like, we probably shouldn't be losing these games. And then also there's that piece that came out saying like all the players were sick, and like, I mean, at the end of the day,
and that might be the case. That might be the case too.
But at the end of the day, when you lose, you lose. Nobody cares about if you were sick or not. Like truly, So
for sure.
At the end of the day, like a year from now, when people are looking at the season and they saw Fnatic lost to whoever they lost to, they're not gonna remember, oh, they were sick for this one match. No, like it's just a loss is a loss. You move on from it. You learn. And you go.
Yep.
We should probably move off of EMEA and go to your stomping grounds, bro.
Yep. All right. So let's do it. What do you want to know?
I think we should start with your game, bro. Because like You played bleed and I got scared, bro. I stayed up watching the first match. I'll give my POV.
Dude, yeah.
I don't know why I'm up. I don't know why I'm up during this time. I just so happen to.
Because your boy's playing. What you mean?
I guess it could have been that. It could have been some other shenanigans late at night. You know, who knows what it was?
Oh, yeah.
Who knows what it was? Who knows what it was?
Yeah, for sure.
I was watching the first map and I'm watching. I'm like, wait, Ye just got an ace, bro. What's going on? You know, like, is this game over? And then they win the first map, and I'm like, oh no, bro. Is this Ye's first win? Is he gonna win his first match in the last 2 years? But then you guys came back and actually played normal Valorant and shit on him. So, just give me your insight on that match, especially.
Here's the interesting thing. Look, again, the devil's in the details with macro. You just got to look at the macro. Mm-hmm. We were in position to win every single round. We knew exactly where they were, what they were doing, what they were going to do. You know why? I'll give you a little hint. Everyone is copying Gen G and Sentinels now. I see their setups now everywhere. Everyone is, bro, every year I've been in Valorant. Now, remember, I was on 100
There's nothing wrong
Thieves.
with copying, by the way. There's nothing wrong with copying.
I'll get to why I have a slight problem. So
you gotta
remember,
make it your
I was on 100
You gotta
Thieves.
make it your own.
Right.
Yeah.
When we were at the head of everyone copying our setups, right? Because you couldn't copy Sentinels at the time because Sentinels, when they had sick, were basically just, either 5-man walk-ups or one flat defaults into like individual plays and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. You can't replicate that without the personnel, right? But strat-wise, we were. So man, for a while I could see all of our setups everywhere, right? Yeah. What I'm beginning to see now, year after year after year after year, everyone in NA last season, right? They were copying 2 teams, Fnatic, Loud. The amount of times teams that we were scrimming would run a setup and we'll be like, bro, they just ran like Fnatic's like a default or a fight or,
you could tell.
Or this team's retake or whatever. We're just like, dude, this season I'm seeing it the same way, bro. So we practice actually. So you have a little bit of inside info of some of the like simulations we're running. In server where we're like predicting these things. You know what we worked on for them? Basically anytime they went Loud one way, they would pivot somewhere else. Right? Right. So we kind of knew like wherever they made noise first.
Sauce right now, bro.
That's not where they No. Every week. So last year at Furia, I wanted to do this on 100 Thieves, but I couldn't. Last year on Furia, we perfected this thing where like every week we had an entirely new game plan. We pretty much had new comps on maps. We had all this stuff. I can't do that because I don't have the personnel here. But what I can say though is, I'm not worried about last week's stuff because that stuff is out the window now, right? So because of what I'm saying, right? Like we're going to be much more difficult to prepare for than people are used to, especially here in APAC, and I'm already seeing that now, right? I think the difficulty is that even though you know what Ye might be doing, he's a guy, right? He's not a jag. So like there's like a sports thing in America. So like a lot of people don't know this. If you call somebody a jag in sports, whether it's basketball, baseball, football, they're just another guy, right? But if you call someone like a dude or a dog, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so Ye's one of those where, we gave him an ace and it was just like, oh man, and you know how it is, bro. Right? Whenever sneak time came and people gave you an ace.
Anyone but this guy, bro.
It was over. So I think the pain for me was watching our macro. Like even the timeout I had, I remember. I was telling Cruz, you're doing great. Because he was doing great. He knew exactly what was happening, what was going on, what we were supposed to do.
It's just Valorant things. Just
unlucky,
things,
bro. What are you gonna do? Someone gets a nice entry.
It truly does,
bro. And for me, it's like a heartbreak because you're just like, I actually can't help you because we're winning macro. My job is to like read patterns, see if our macro's good, fix it. Dude, Cruz is calling almost a perfect game. I look up, it's 0-6. I'm like,
damn.
Like, what is there to do? So I think that's the interesting thing is if you watch that match, you'll see us. We should be in good position to stop them almost everywhere, but it just doesn't matter. Now, our attack, different story. Our attack also caught us in our next series, but like, so Lotus is down. Everyone is just like, dude, like, what the hell just happened? I basically just told them exactly what I told you. We actually won macro. Like, I think though, maybe some players were overthinking. I think, like Like, you know when the map goes quiet and, like, you may
Yeah.
have a read
Yeah,
and you
yeah,
may
yeah.
think something's happening, but you're like, "Wait, like, nothing."
And then all of a sudden they just
Like,
hit your site and you weren't
and then
ready,
you're
or they hit
moving
someone
in
else's site, they
transition,
weren't
and it's like,
ready.
"Bro, why are you
Yeah,
moving?
yeah,
You
yeah.
knew what was happening. You knew the call." It's like, "Yeah, but they hadn't done anything for, like, half an interval." So I'm just like, "Oh, they're gonna be somewhere else. I'm trying to cheat to the next zone." And it's like, "But dude, you gotta trust the call." And, like, so from my IGL, from Crew's perspective, he's like, "Dude, you know how many times I told us they were gonna do this and they did it, and then I'm playing retake simulator every round?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's actually true." On the other maps, Macro was good. They played their game. Gov got out of his thing. You know, everybody got to play their game. Icebox, obviously, you saw Icebox was that was a. I mean,
Yeah, it was a
that
wash.
was
I mean, but honestly, both maps, but
So-
both maps.
Yeah, for
Both
sure.
maps
But the
were-
macro
like,
all
you
series
won
was good.
13-7, you won 13-6, and it was very convincing. And yeah, you're right. Icebox, imagine you guys didn't get eco'd.
Oh,
Maybe
bro,
maybe you would have had a perfect half. You
Right.
maybe would have had a
So-
perfect half, bro.
right. So
That's
for
crazy,
me,
by the way.
the first map was just like I was in disbelief because I'm like, man, we were winning, which led to me ultimately, I guess, making a mistake leaving Lotus in because I knew that Gen G are incredible on Lotus. But I'm just like, there are other maps you need to stay away from, right?
Oh, you
So, like,
talking about the Gen G match? Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm just going through mine so that we can get to everybody else's, right?
Yeah.
So look, we had one day to prepare. I made a mistake against Team Secret because when we beat Team Secret and they played DRX and we were in that series. It's like 9-9 both maps, and then they just like
Yeah.
basically pull away. Stacks has more experience, and some of our guys kind of just. It's the same thing that happened that we just discussed on Lotus, where we're in the right positions. We know what's happening. We know what's going on, but then people don't trust themselves. They don't trust the call, or they're just like, stuff happens, right?
Yeah.
So we go into the secret match, and we're preparing for the secret match, and we're basically like, look, we have literally, we play tomorrow one of these teams in a Swiss system, right? Let's just try to get the same maps. Who cares? We're gonna beat them on a bad day. We need to focus on who's next. So our minds were already on the next match.
Gotcha.
2 players don't even show up, and we're losing 13-10, right? To Secret on Breeze.
I remember. I remember.
One guy's
watching
like
it
420, one guy's like, right. So it's like, okay, we're not making that mistake again. I trusted you guys. You guys were so confident you could win on a bad day. You mother effers didn't win on a bad day. So I'm not doing the same thing to Gen G or sorry, to Bleed, right? Especially knowing it's Ye, right? We're on a microscope now because he's so big. Everyone's going to be like, this is a big game, blah, 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 blah. For me, I was using it as a litmus test for our guys because, like, if you can, because we have inexperienced guys like Gov, right? If Gov, if Lenny, if, like, Jip Boys can, like, deal with the pressure of, like, you guys are playing Ye, that's going to serve everybody well, right?
And not only that, but you played a Ye who literally started off like pretty hot. Like he got that ace.
Right.
Everything, he closed out the map. I was thinking, I was actually surprised that you guys brought it back because of that. I was thinking, like, I know you have a pretty young team and they're inexperienced, so I was even worried after I saw that map, and I just closed the stream because I was like, I can't watch, bro. I don't want to see this happen. But I'm happy that when I woke up the next day, you guys ended up bringing it back. You guys stayed in it. You guys won the match. And
right. So I didn't spend the whole week preparing for Gen G, even though I have all this data on Gen G, because it's like, I'm not trying to lose to Ye, especially because, like, we're friends with, like, I'm friends with Jacob. I love Jacob. So, like,
you guys were like tight, like this in the offseason before both you joined, before he joined Bleed, before you joined Talon, you were coaching him.
He's my guy. He's my guy, bro. But I don't want him to talk shit to me. Heck no. You know how it is shit with you.
Wait, did you shoot him a text after the game and were you like, yo, get shit on
nice
kid
and
or something? You were nice?
Nah, bro, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that because I know how serious. So one, like,
he's a competitor,
for
bro.
sure.
Yeah, he's a champion.
Hold on.
He's a champion.
100% I'm doing that to you every time. Without question. When I see you, it's over. But with him, it's different.
That's okay.
It's the same with Nitro, right? Like, now, I can't really talk because, like, some people, they're just so intense.
Yeah.
Like, you can mess with me a lot, but, like, you have to know, like, who in your friend group or what personal
it doesn't fly with some people. It doesn't fly with some people.
Yeah. With him, though, he's so intense that after the match, there's no way I could joke with him like that, right? So it was more like, go shit the next day, hit him up like, yo, how you feeling? Blah, blah, blah.
He played well.
Yeah,
like,
for sure. Next week, though, like next week or a few weeks from now, trust me, I'm gonna talk my shit. But for now, it was just not the time because I know how he is, right? So,
Yeah.
so then so we come out of that series. The next day, we do a VOD review of Lotus. I know we're gonna play it. I'm thinking, okay, we won the macro, but we just like lost a lot of big situations and rounds. We can't let that happen again. Let's fix that. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So I leave Lotus in there. I'm just like, all right, let's do this. I make a slight mistake because I could have picked Icebox instead of Ascent, but I figured they would get rid of Ascent because Ascent and bans are like their bans, or Bind are their bans. So I'm thinking, oh, we're gonna get Icebox late because like they like Icebox, they're good on Icebox, so we're gonna be able to get that as a closing map, easy, right? Like if we need it, we got it, right? I know Ban has a relationship with some of those players. Like he's cool with Munchkin. Like he actually picked us over that team technically because they wanted him to try out for the team.
Dang.
And so I asked him, I was like, yo, what you think? How do you think they'll prepare for us since you know them? And he was like, Hector, they don't respect us. They don't give a shit about us. They're not going to care. But what I kept seeing, if you look at the coaching thing or the vetoes, like how you guys do it, we do it too in APAC.
Yeah.
If you look at it, bro, they went into overtime.
Yeah,
like the admin was like, "Yo, you're out of time. You have to pick."
We were talking about it, and I think they did the same thing in Madrid as well. They take their time in the veto. They love to do that. Do you think they're doing mind games, or are they actually like dead ass like?
No, I think because I think they're afraid of Munchkin, and if they make a mistake, he's gonna get pissed off. I had to deal with that with Josh on 100 Thieves too, so it's not like it just is what it is, right? Some people will get really tilted and pissed off if you mess up. So I think their coaching staff is making sure that doesn't happen. So they're taking all their time, but their bans were also targeted, right? So
you got counted.
So right there, because of what Ban said and then afterwards knowing that they were target banning us, they did have some modicum of respect. I should have just picked Icebox and then maybe played Ascent after.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, we're good on Ascent. We can do this. We're good on Lotus. We're not gonna have the same problems. And then
Lotus was close.
It just
too. Both maps were
slow starts.
Were decent.
Yeah, but our defense was decent, and this is what's weird, and you can attest to this as a player. Defense is way harder than attack because where the bomb's going on attack. You have situations like where you have an idea as to what the defense is going to be. You know how teams will play certain defenses. You know how the Killjoy will play on Ascent and like where it should be, where a turret should be, where a Molly should be. You can anticipate these things. On defense, it's all communication. And it's really high level of anticipation and game IQ. So for a team that's young and inexperienced in a sense, obviously not Cruz and but like and Ben, our defense shouldn't have been that good. It's our attack that should have been that good. And it's kind of just weird because if our attack just lived up to what it's supposed to, our defense would have probably carried us into OT, or we probably I think could have had a chance to win those games. Just unlucky. Just we're not good enough. We got to get better.
A lot of teams lately. Yeah, I've been seeing a lot of teams lately though struggle on that attack Lotus. Like it seems like I don't want to say that the changes made it defense sided because I still believe it's attack sided, but I think that teams are struggling just to get rounds up on that attack. Maybe people are just getting better at retaking or something on that map, but it's been the common theme. It's not just you guys that are having a hard time playing the attack.
The box on C helps the defender, right? The way the bend is positioned really helps the defender. That raises now have to satchel over default plant spot, which means that if they're back sight or on the other box that's in the corner, you get punished for free. So if they go around, now you have better molly potential and better util chip damage potential, right? Teams are getting better in retakes. People are getting better at the map. I'm certainly not going to give up way too much information for other teams in the league. I would just say I was very disappointed at how we didn't read what they were doing, even though we prepped specifically for it. But I think pressure bust pipes, and when you're playing teams that are that good, and you have all the eyes on you because we're playing the best team in the league.
Yeah.
There are times where you may be able to forget the things you VOD reviewed or studied, and instinct comes out. And then you're doing things you're not supposed to. And then a smart team will take advantage of those same things. And I was very disappointed at what happened to A. And And I felt like that was basically the deciding factor of the game, was our inability to get out of A, and their ability to keep it made it very difficult for us. And if we don't fix these things, every team is going to try to bully us on Lotus. And until we can prove that, this isn't going to happen, I implore every coach and every team that's playing against us to pick Lotus. I really do. Because we're either going to have to fix it or turn it into a permaban. Yeah. And all of us are confident on that map, so I'll put it out there.
It's a fun map to play in matches, not in ranked, but I can attest. It's a map that I really enjoyed a lot when I was playing.
Yeah, I liked it. I didn't like how last season they forced us to play 2-3 bomb site maps in one season with no time to prepare.
Haven and
you know how hard it is.
Maybe it should be cycled. They shouldn't both be in at the same time. I think I agree with that. Because that is rough. I have a question though that pertaining to this match against Gen G. So I saw that on the first map you had Surfin and then you subbed him out for Lenny. Is that an ongoing thing? Like, are you guys running a 6-man roster, or was that
yeah? And it's gonna
Surf didn't have a hot map. So I was wondering. Did he sub him out because he had a bad game, or was it already pre-planned?
No, we have certain maps for certain guys.
Okay.
So they interviewed me and I explained this about, but I also do it here. I've been a little unaware of the military conscription in APAC, and specifically like places like Singapore where you have to go, which everyone knows Jing famously has an issue. So Lenny had to do military training for like 2 weeks or something. We knew it was happening. So even if we made Madrid, we were kind of fucked, right? And just the TLDR is that we're not going to not scrim for 2 weeks. You know that. So we have a 6-man. Yeah. We plot him in. He already had one map he was going to play regardless, which was Icebox. And we started playing him on other maps. And you know how it is. You hit lightning in a bottle. And you're just like, now Plenty comes back and you're like, you have to have a tough conversation. I'm like, hey, listen, it's unlucky, but we're in a good rhythm. It's looking good. Ban's able to be more flexible now. Bro, since trials, I've had Ban on a different agent on every map. Now I have Ban on a different role on every map. Ban has, and you're going to see it at some point. He's going to play Duelist. He plays Fast Initiator. He plays True Support Initiator. He plays Smokes. He plays Viper. I have him on Sentinel on the map. Ban is by far the closest thing to Forsaken outside of PRX right now. That doesn't mean that he's skilled and he has as high a ceiling, but I'm saying like I literally have him on every role now play a lot on a different map. He's that good and that talented and that smart, right? So it allowed Ban to be freed up more to take over some of these things that presented new opportunities. And it's just kind of, that's what happened. It was like, it's less Surf and Lenny. It's kind of more what it did to Ban and how it opened up things for Jit, how it opened up things for Cruz. Because now Cruz could play things like Gecko and Cruz can play, so it just kind of worked itself that way. And that was the reason. It's just, yeah, sure. Obviously, I want like a perfect 5-man team that I can run on every map all the time. It's just not how life is all the time. And you have to do the things you need to do to win. And I'm just trying to win. And I think it's the best way I can win at the moment. We'll just figure that out.
Well, you guys won against Bleed, and also Detonation Focus won their first match against T1.
That is the most surprising, I think, of all the results in the world. And this is no disrespect to DFM. It's just, okay, it's kind of messed up. Talented content, and I rated T1 as one of the worst teams in the league. Yes, I thought they would be not great. I never anticipated it would be that not great. You know what I mean? No shots. We're going to play them in 2 weeks, so if they're mad, they're going to take it out on us then, and we'll just have to bang it out. But, wow.
Yeah, that was rough. That was
the Crazy Raccoons core played great. So props.
And the Duelist. How do I pronounce? Is it May?
May. Yeah.
May. It's just May, like the Overwatch character.
Yeah, May. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Went crazy. Absolutely crazy.
For sure.
Is this like a one-off thing, or like is this replicatable? You think? I mean, we're talking about like Ascent, Raze, 30 bomb. Ascent, Raze, by the
Well,
way, 30 bomb.
yeah.
Lotus, 17. They lost that map, but
Raze was
he
good on Ascent.
solely
You remember
plays
for a
Raze.
while, you were like the only one playing Jet on Ascent for a small period. You remember?
Yeah,
We were running it on 100 Thieves.
Yep.
Everybody, you know.
Yep.
I think Raze is pretty good. I think obviously I'm not going to argue that Jet isn't better. We can both agree to this. Jet is actually better on Ascent for sure, but Raze is pretty good.
Yeah, you can play it.
Yeah. I just think that it just came down to this DFM's not scared. They took up the challenge, bro. Sunset
They
was a
want the win.
slugfest.
They want the win, right?
Yeah, bro. That Sunset. If there's one match I would recommend people watching in APAC this week that I thought was like the most fun as an observer, and I watched it as a coach, but I actually enjoyed watching it. Like, you remember we talked about some teams in EU, which we won't name again, that they were not that fun to watch, or I thought they weren't fun to watch for me. The Sunset DFM T1 match was very fun. I will say though, T1, and there's a certain player I'm thinking of in particular, did some really awkward stuff in clutches, 2v2s, 3v3s. So I think the chemistry is not there. And when you look at that with that context, now you can understand, I think, why that match went the way that it went. But yeah, man, that was a fun series to watch as a fan and as an observer. As a coach, I noticed, especially 2v2s, you know, there's something not clicking. And yeah, it's just unlucky, bro.
I found it funny that they lost all the maps that Rossi wasn't playing Viper on, because like he's only played Viper on this roster so far. Like he literally hasn't played anything other than Viper the entire year, and then like they switch off on the 2 maps that they played, and they lose both maps. And I know it, like, it doesn't have a correlation with how he played the KO, because he actually plays a pretty good KO. And even on Sunset, he went 20, 22, 18, and 16. Ascent, he did like, you know, 13, 16, 16. So he's clearly like, it's not that he's bad at the character. It's just, I just find it funny that they lost when he's not on Viper. Because I feel like if he, especially on Sunset, if they ran like the Viper comp, you have Saya on the Raze, you know, and not on the Neon, they probably win that map. I mean, if it's a mirror matchup in terms of the agents, they probably win. So again, I think another team just cooking too much. But I get it, right? Like you don't want to just be a one trick, you know. Like you want to have other things.
Bro.
Yeah,
it's unlucky.
It was still shocking though to everybody.
Stuff happens.
Right?
I don't blame T1 for the Paper Rex loss, even though they had Meunier, right? Like now they have like Jing, and
oh my god,
I'm not gonna like
the goat.
Jing is back. I'm not blaming. I'm not blaming T1 for that loss, right? That's, I mean, I have that circled on my map too. Paper Rex is a problem. Paper Rex with Jing is one of the best teams in the world. Certainly not gonna hate on T1 for that. I think
that was DFM, close too. That was a close series. It was 13-10 and Bind was OT.
Yeah, for sure.
That's hella close. Hella close.
Bro, speaking of close series, did you see T1 versus Secret versus RQ?
No, I didn't. Yeah,
brother,
tell me.
That was literally like, I think the two most so Split wasn't that close, but the other 2 maps, splitting hairs. Bro.
I love. By the way, real quick, I love. Is it J Remy?
Jeremy.
Or is it just Jeremy?
Jeremy.
All right, well, I call him J Remy. That's my boy, right, bro. I love J Remy. That boy J Remy. J Remy. Yeah, I don't know why. I like the way he plays the game, man. I love the way he plays Jet. I think it's so fun watching him play the Jet, and he's really good at it. He's sick. He reminds me of like me a little bit, because he's got that like X factor in him, you know, like he takes risks and he gets punished sometimes, but when it works out, bro, it looks so cool, man. He's sick, bro. He's sick.
Yeah, he's a talented kid.
But it's a surprising loss though for them, right? Because you guys destroyed them the first time you played, but at least the second time around, they made adaptations.
Yeah, they handled
and
their
good.
Own. For sure.
But to lose to
I think RQ is one of the most underrated teams in APAC, though. I've been saying that. So
I don't
secretly
know much about them, so that's why.
In the talent. No.
So
Flipshider was an IGL from, I think it was Boom. I don't remember now off the top. But when I was GM of Secret, I wanted him for the franchising, like him, Scary, that's on Bleed. Like there were some players I thought that like really could help us win at the time.
Who's Jemkin? Like I've never heard of this guy. Like where did he come
Jemkin's
from?
a Russian player. He's basically something number 2. It's these guys
of something.
Yeah. He was just a rank demon. Like some of these guys, like
Wow,
remember
man.
when something would play in NA well like 200 ping and still be like top 50 like Radiant?
Yeah.
It's the same thing except Jemkin did it in APAC. So
I mean, I'm looking at this guy's stats. Even I mean, I think you're right. Actually, I think that like this team in general. Yeah. So this team.
But he did have an
O
0-12 game though. He did have an 0-12 game where he literally he bricked one half. Obviously, he came back and he dropped a 30 burger the next. But that's also the second thing that he's known for is like his 0-12 game. So it's like, you know, these guys have like these like incredible moments, but the consistency across like games, I think in APAC, I think this region is the most streaky.
This is crazy. But you know what's crazy to me is that I'm looking at this right now with the, how do you pronounce this team name? Rex? Should I just call him Rex? No, because Paper Rex.
Regum Kuhn, I think. But yeah, RRQ is just for sure. It's
okay, like I'm just gonna say RRQ. Okay, so RRQ, their matches are so brutal, bro. They have to like this year. So I have no idea who they are, by the way. But this year they've played Genji twice and Team Secret. That's it.
I know. Trust me.
That's it.
That group
and the Genji games are 2-1s. They're 2-1s.
I know. Listen.
How did they have to play them back to back? How does that make sense?
Okay, so the league, I think you had this happen too, where there's one group with 3 teams in kickoff.
You play the same. Okay, I get it.
It was the same. They had the group of depth.
So they had that.
It was
group
Genji, Paper Rex, RRQ.
I get it. And they took them to the distance. So I think you're right.
They played
this
so
team
well.
Could be underdog.
Like preseason.
Damn, that's scary. Bro.
I'm telling you, preseason talented content. And they asked me what I thought. I put RRQ top 3. I was like, yo, we are battling for top 4, maybe top 3 with RRQ.
That's crazy.
Like, you know, that was my bro, this team is solid.
That's
like
crazy,
the thing is,
bro.
I'll just say this. I think what the team is, there are some of their parts. I don't think if you took any of one of those players and you put them on another team, they're going to be the star, even Jemkin. But I think together with what they have, with the coaching staff, with Flipscheider and the players and all that stuff, I think what they have, you know, they're just really good. They're just, as a unit, they're really talented. And making comparisons to other leagues and teams is different because they're just doing it a certain way.
Gotcha.
But yeah, so I know you don't know much about them now, but you're gonna hear probably more about them. The thing is, though, they can't win a big one. They're always losing 2-1. Eventually, they're gonna have to sort of like,
you have to break that barrier,
right? And they did it in a sense with Secret, but like they're gonna need to be able, if they want to be top 3, like I predicted, they're gonna have to beat a very, very, very strong team in order to like do that. So
like a Genji
time is gonna tell.
PRX,
yeah, but they have everything they need, I think.
That's pretty sick.
Do it.
I'm definitely going to be on the lookout for these guys.
Yeah. Like even our game with them later this year, you know, we are not overlooking that team. We are going to prepare for that team like we do any of the killers. So.
All right. Yeah. I think that's good for now. I mean, first episode, we knocked it out. Yeah. Thank you everybody for tuning in. If you enjoyed, if you watched this far, you know, I'm sure you saw some clips, whatever. Like, I hope you guys liked it. And there's going to be plenty more. We're going to have guests on every week. Hopefully every week. You know, we'll see how scheduling goes. And me and, you know, Frost are busy people. I'm casting. He's a full-time coach, literally.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm excited for next week. I hope.
Yeah. I'm excited. We're going to have pros coming on. Maybe we'll eventually get some Riot people on. Maybe we'll get Leo on one of these streams.
Lol.
Producer voice of God, bro. Producer voice of God chiming in. What's up, Steve? I saying we just getting everything set up on social media and stuff, but we'd love to hear what you'd like us to talk about more, or have these guys talk about more, and ask us questions. It'll be at SpikePlant on Twitter and such. So give us a shout.
Respect. Nice. There it is.
All right, bro.
All right,
yo,
guys.
It's good to see you. Thanks for staying up to watch our games, homie.
Yeah. Sure. I gotta support a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, respect.
When I saw you guys lose the first game, I was like, shit, bro. Shit.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm going to bed, bro. I'm going to bed. I was like, I'm going to bed.
Bro, it's like that though. You gotta be on all the time, bro. This league is getting so hard, bro.
I believe
every team just has monsters. But, yep. All right, guy. All right, everybody. Have a good one.